your life, to your children's life, to the future generations. It is very important. Let's talk about the President of the United States and why that is important to vote for. I said a lot of words and with no breath, so I apologize. Let's talk about the next thing, right? The President of the United States. So almost 4 years ago now, we had an election. Hillary Clinton, what's her middle name? Because I don't even know her middle name. I don't even know. Hillary Clinton against Mr. Donald J. Trump. And I do, that's it. That's who he is, Donald J. Trump. And I think a lot of people thought Hillary had that election in the bag. I think a lot of people thought, like, there's no way a man with no prior political history would win. There's no way a bigot or a racist would win. There's no way. And I don't like either one of these parties, so I'm just going to sit out. I'm not going to do anything. I'm sit out. I'm not going to vote. Do you know why that was the dumbest thing you would ever do in your life? Because now we got this bigot, this racist, this xenophobe in office. And he likes wielding that power, the power that comes with being the president of the United States. He loves to wield. He loves to wield it like a sword, okay, and just slight down anybody who talks bad about him. But the reason, right, and I know you're like, well, he only has so much power. The President of the United States only has so much power. He does not control the entire thing. You're absolutely correct. He doesn't control that entire thing. But think about it. If on the local levels, you didn't vote for the correct senators, you didn't vote for the correct representatives to be in the House of Representatives, if you didn't vote for these people correctly, now the people who are in office support his rhetoric, the things that he does, the things that he says, and they will agree with the laws and the bills, the cutting of funding that he is proposing. They'll go along with it because, yo, that's my buddy, that's my home, that's my road dog. I'm cool with what he's saying. That's not a problem to me. Because they don't support us. It wasn't meant for us. We didn't put them in office. We gotta put these people in office. That's the biggest thing. We need to be the one putting them in office so that their words, what they support, what they root for, is us. Okay, we're not gonna get them all. No, don't get me wrong, we ain't gonna get them all. But we need to get a majority of them. That's what needs to happen. And if y'all hear fireworks in my background, I don't know what the hell's going on, but since the beginning of June, these people have been making these things go off, and I chose to record super late at night, so they's just going off like bombs in the background. So in his time in office so far, he's tried to he has repealed Obamacare. He has he's tried to repeal or remove DACA, D-A-C-A. Within his time in office, he has put a lot of far-right Supreme Court judges on the bench. Do y'all know Supreme Court judges they're not elected. They are appointed by the United States President, and they stay there until they choose to leave or they die. I said die, okay? Death. That's how we get the rule, death. And I know y'all know the Supreme Court is the highest court of the land. What they say goes. You cannot you can appeal it. But most times, like, what they say, that's it. When they said Plessy v. Ferguson, separate but equal, that was it. It was separate but equal. When we said Brown v. Board of Ed, and they said separate and unequal, that was it. There was no question about it. Schools need to be integrated. That was the end of the line. Like, what they say is the end of the line. They are the highest court of the land. You understand what I'm saying? He's putting people in positions of power who are far right, who do not support what we support when we talk about social justice. When we talk about social justice, police reform, when we're talking about all these things, they don't support those things like we support them things, baby. Like, they play face because they're judges. They're judges, you know, they're once lawyers. They play it up, but let's not act like we don't know there's not racist lawyers out there, racist judges. Now we're putting far-right Supreme Court judges in positions that will forever impact us, impact our children's future generations. This is what you're telling me. This is who we allowed to become president. Because, yeah, they could strike down a thing or two, but he could also strike down. It's just crazy, right? So I get it. People felt like neither choice 4 years ago was the right choice. They felt like Hillary wasn't shit, and they felt like Trump wasn't shit. Rightfully so. They both did some very terrible things. And I think people, they did some very terrible things. And I think it's very important to, understand that the way politics works in this country is they're dirty. Okay? Just about all of them is dirty. They have to get their hands dirty. The higher you go, the dirtier you get, right? I truly believe there's no way that you get to where you are and you are not dirty. I love Obama, but even Obama, right? Like, he done did some things that shady as shit. And it's like, why? What was the reason? No, I don't support that. But I do understand, I think it comes with like almost every presidency. They do things in which we would consider disgusting in some way, shape, or form. Hell, in times of war, I think every president has been a war criminal. I think if you let it be told, they're war criminals. But only history is decided by, history is written by the victors. So they're not going to write themselves as the war criminals, right? That's not how that works. But I digress. So while yes, they both did some disgusting things, I think one more so than the next, people felt like there was no choice between Hillary and Trump. I'm here to tell you there was a choice. It was an obvious choice, and the choice was to choose the lesser of two evils. And I know some of y'all sit there and be like, what do you mean choose the lesser of two evils? Because let me tell you how this works. Either way, we were getting one of them. Either way, we were getting evil in that office. Which one would you rather live with? I preferred her. I really preferred her. I really preferred to live with her evil. But instead we got him. We got his evil, right? And we've seen 4 years of that and what it entails. So now here we are 4 years later with the same thing of people do not have confidence in Biden. And I get it. I'm not a Biden fan. I'm not a Biden girl. I was a Sanders girl all the way, okay? I was feeling the burn, and they did Bernie dirty. But I was a Bernie girl. I was rooting for Bernie. I was Bernie all the way. But now that it's between Biden and Trump, I'm not sitting this one out, right? This year, I, just like you, cannot sit there and say, I don't want to choose either one. I'm not choosing them. That's not how the real world works, unfortunately. You can, don't get me wrong, you absolutely can. You have free will, it is your choice. You can say, no, I'm not voting, I'm not choosing. But please understand how that affects you, how that affects your children's children, the generational impact it will have when you're saying, I refuse to choose. You have to choose, because either way, but it's not one of those options where you say, I'm not choosing, so then nothing happens. They give you new candidates. That's not how this works. How this works is the two candidates that's in front of your face, which is Biden and Trump, choose one of them. That's all they're going to tell you, is choose one, because if you don't choose, they're choosing for us. They're telling us what's going to be. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm not trying to have another 4 years of Trump. I do not. I don't want another 4 years of Trump at all. So I think, yes, we need to go out there, we need to use our voice, and we need to vote. We need to vote for who is the lesser of two evils. We've seen what one evil can do. We've seen what one evil is like. Do we want that? Again, is my question for you. Because you cannot sit on the sidelines and do nothing, because you were just as complicit in the problem. If the 4 years ago you said, I don't want to choose between Hillary and Trump, you're complicit, okay? Your silence, the fact that you didn't use your voice, the fact that you didn't vote, you're complicit in the situation that we are in now. You're complicit in that. You are. Because I just want to let you know, silence in the face of issues makes you complicit. You cannot see it happening and say nothing and think, but I didn't do it, so it's fine. Nah, shawty, you complicit. You did it. You helped. Your silence, it helped. That's what happened. 4 years ago, your silence by not voting, it helped. It helped him win. It helped him get in office. So, we need to go out and we need to vote, okay? We need to vote. We need to go out. We need to vote. And we need to vote, right? And I'm gonna get to that one in a second. Vote, and I'm gonna tell you the states that are super important to vote in, right? Like, so my state, New York, Because it's not a popular vote, because had it been a popular vote, we would have had Hillary. But because it's not a popular vote, it works by electoral votes. New York is always a blue state. It doesn't matter. New York is always blue. Like, there's certain states you know are blue. There's certain states you know are red. No matter what, they will always be red. They will always be blue. They're not swing states. There are swing states though, and those swing states are very important to know because people in those states need to go out and they need to vote. Oh fuck, guys, how y'all let me go past the voter suppression that's still occurring? I almost forgot. So, like I told y'all earlier, I'm sorry, we're gonna backtrack a little bit. The voter suppression that is occurring. So, voter suppression that used to occur doesn't occur the same way anymore. What they do now, and what we just saw recently during the primaries in Georgia, about what, 2 weeks ago now, not even, is in black neighborhoods, right? In black and brown neighborhoods, there's only one polling machine. How? There are long, like hour-long lines to get to the ballot to vote. And when you go to white neighborhoods, they got several machines. There's no line. It's an in and out process. That is what voter suppression looks like. When the one machine you have is broken, is all of a sudden broken, that is what voter suppression looks like. When you need certain identification forms that is telling you to go and vote, that is what voter suppression looks like nowadays. And once that happens, oh, best believe you best to get your happy ass on the phone and call the hotline, because every state has a hotline for voter suppression. If they're trying to suppress your vote, there's a hotline. You better call that. Call them. Okay? You better call them and snitch on all their asses, because your voices will be heard. They will not stop you, because they're going to try everything they can to stop you from voting. Shit like that, because people don't want to like wait on long lines. Like, damn, I don't want to be here for 7 hours. I'm personally taking a PTO day. Hello, you gonna catch me later, because I'm going to stand on this line and I'm going to vote. I know everybody doesn't have that same benefit, right? I'm lucky in that sense. Here's what I would also say. And this is tough, right? But there's also early voting. So for the primaries, I did early voting. There's also mail-in votes. That's tricky in itself because they be losing votes all of a sudden. Another form of voter suppression. When they all of a sudden lose votes, voter suppression. Wasn't it in Florida they found a box of mail-in votes on the side of the road? Voter suppression. That is what it looks like. That is what it's called when, especially in neighborhoods in which black and brown people would go out and vote, because they're going to try to tell you that we don't go out in numbers to vote, but they'll do everything in their power to silence us. And I need y'all to think about that. If we have no power, if we mean, like, if our voices mean nothing, if we don't hold weight, like they try to tell us we don't hold weight, why do they go so hard to make sure that our voices aren't heard? Because I ain't never seen somebody go out their way to do things like that if I wasn't important. I just want to let you know. I've never seen somebody go out their way to make sure that I could not speak, that my voice was like locked up if my voice wasn't that important. Because if I wasn't important to you, you'd let me speak. You'd let me go on and do my business. But they know how important our votes are. They know how influential we are. So they want to make sure that we don't go out and we don't vote. Do not let that happen. Make sure you are using your voice. So when we're talking about swing states, right? The swing states that we need to ensure, and where a lot of this voter suppression likes to happen, a lot of this fuck shit likes to happen, is Arizona, Colorado, Florida. Are you surprised? Georgia, are you surprised? Iowa, Maine, Michigan, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Wisconsin. These states are all swing states, which means they vary in whether they move blue or they move red, right? We like them when they, well, I'm not going to say we like them blue or red. Personally, I am a fan of voting on the candidate based off like what the candidate shows me. I find that Republicans, a lot of them, they spew the same kind of rhetoric, which I do not agree with. So I usually don't end up moving with a Republican Party. But here's the thing: if they align with the things that I align with, I would go with them. Like, I don't want y'all to feel like because I'm black, I'm spewing, you must vote Democrat, you must vote blue. No, I'm a registered Democrat. But say 4 years from now, there is a Republican there's a Republican candidate that comes out and he says something, and he or she, excuse me, says and stands for things that is on my wavelength, right? They talk about social justice, social reform. They have a history of it. They listen, because it's more than just words. They actions, right? They're past actions, because what you did in the past, boo, that's important too. What was your past looking like? Your past actions match your current words, and your future actions will match those same words. I am with it. What sign you want me to be too? Because if you speak for me, if you support me, if you root for me, then I'm down. If your history of that shows me that as well, then I'm down. Because that's what I care for. I care for me. I don't care for the blue. I don't care for the red. That's not important to me. I care. Do you care for me? Unfortunately, a lot of times, the blue and the red mean a lot. And the shit they support that go along with that also shows through that, right? But in those swing states, it's very important to make sure the voter suppression is going to happen. Make sure that you are out there. You're making sure your voices be heard. Make sure that you're calling the number. The day of, Google it. Make sure you're Googling it. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll make sure to tweet. I'll make sure to tweet these swing states. I'll make sure to tweet these swing states voter suppression hotline so that you guys can have it. If you follow me on Twitter, make sure you follow me on Twitter. It's Mighty Speaks. Shameless plug. Right? Like, we want to make sure that we're using our voices and make sure we're letting everybody know ways in which to be informed and educated, because not everybody know that. I'm gonna tell you, I didn't know that until recently, that there was a hotline for voter suppression, and I knew because of a video on Twitter. I learned it because of a video on Twitter, guys. I am 25. I learned it because of a video on Twitter. I was never taught that. Y'all, this one curl not pissing y'all off, because it was pissing me off. I learned it on Twitter. The power of social media. But like every state has one, so making sure you're calling if you see any of that fuck shit happening when it comes to voter suppression and the different forms of voter suppression that exists. Make sure you're using your voice and you're tweeting and letting people know in your city, in your state, y'all, this shit is happening. Okay, that's how we knew what was happening in Georgia. People was like, oh, so y'all think y'all playing with me? No, PTO day. Oh, you see these white neighborhoods? No lines. You see these black neighborhoods? One machine is somehow they all broken. No. We ain't playing them games. We know what kind of governor Georgia got. Brian Kemp was not meant to be governor. They stole that. They stole that for Stacey Abrams for the fuck shit. But he also was complicit and part of voter suppression when it was him against Stacey Abrams. Because Miss, I bet you, had that suppression not occurred, Stacey Abrams would have been, I bet you she would have been governor. Damn it, leave me alone. I bet you she would have been governor. Guys, so I went through a lot in this video and I feel like I rambled a little bit, so I apologize. So let's go through it really quickly, right? Voting is important, right? Especially local, on your local level, it is super important because these are the people who make decisions in your state that impact you. More than just on the federal level, we were talking about local level, how you're prosecuted, how your states are governed, how they are moved, the laws that are made in those states, how they affect you. You need to make sure you have people in place which support you. Like if you ever, because I don't know if y'all know about New York, right? But in New York we had, oh, y'all have to know because Bloomberg was running for president, and I know we was all putting him on blast for all his shit. But like, if you ever get a mayor like Bloomberg that try to say stop and frisk is a thing to do, make sure, like, you know, make sure you know the kind of shit that they support and the kind of things they stand for. So you're making sure you don't put them in office, making sure like Brooklyn did when they voted in their district attorney in a beautiful way, so that, you know, like, they're standing for something. They're standing for people, the black and brown people in the communities, and they're aware of the systemic injustices and racism in this country, and they're ensuring that they're doing their best to combat that the way that they can, making sure you're voting in your attorney generals, making sure you're voting in your attorney generals, because they also are very important when we're talking about Kentucky and what that, I don't even know that goddamn man's name, the attorney general in Kentucky, and his failure to arrest and bring up charges against the murderers of Breonna Taylor. That is very important. These people that we put in positions of power, in our states at a local level. They affect almost everything that happens to us and what we do. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of living in a fucking fear. I'm tired of living in a state of panic. And as a black woman, it's a constant since birth. It is something that we are unfortunately ingrained in us and taught, because they don't care about us and they don't care for us. But we need to start breaking that. We need to make sure that our children don't have to try to ensure that our children don't have to endure the same kind of trauma that we endure. They don't have to have that level of fear in their heart, because it's not healthy. It's not okay. It's not healthy and it's not okay, right? And it's not just in New York. It's in all of these states. In all of these states, this is existing. I speak about New York because I live in New York. I know New York. I've lived in New York my entire life. I can tell you about New York, and I can tell you all that is of New York with their injustices, right? With the systemic racism. I can speak on that, but speak on your states, right? Like, make your voices be heard about your states. We all have a voice, we all have power, and it's called voting. Make sure your voice is heard. Make sure you use your power in the right way. I completely agree when Diddy said that we need to not give our vote away. I completely agree, but you need to see the candidates. You need to also look at the candidates and look at what they can do for you, right? What they've done for you, what is their history, what is their past, because it's super important when it comes to electing people. We're not just putting them in because they brown and because they black. Do you actually stand for me? Do you support me? What are your policies, right? Because we know there's some coons out there that, all skin folk and kin folk, tell you that right now. So we know there's some coons out there that rock our skin but don't rock with us and don't care for us. They're just trying to getting good with the white guy. So making sure that you're aware on each candidate and who's the best for you. Before I went out and voted today for who I wanted because in the 9th district, so I live in the 9th district of New York, and there's a seat up, Miss Yvette Clark. It's Miss Yvette Clark. She's re-running again for her seat in Congress. Actually, she's in the House of Representatives, right? Yeah, she's not a senator. Whatever. For her seat in Congress. Her seat is up again for election. So she's running again, and there's a few other people who are running against her. And I just don't blindly follow. I'm like, who I need to know, who I feel like is down for me, who I feel like rocks for me. And I chose the candidate in the primary elections that I felt like rocked for me. All right, like that had the same ideals and principles that I went with. And I hope, I hope that he's elected. I do hope he is elected and he takes her seat. Y'all can already tell it's a man, it's not Miss Yvette Clark. But and like my mama said, my mom was like, Miss Yvette Clark is a staple. But staples don't always mean it's good. Just because you've been there a long time don't mean you've really done great things. Right? Like, you gotta also be willing to make some changes and shake the table, baby. Shake that table, make some noise, and make sure your voices are heard. Make sure the same way that the NRA always, my Jesus, always has some voices in Congress. A couple of them people, because they fund their they fund their election. That's how much money they got. They fund their elections. We need to make sure that we have people in office that we put in, that we funded the same way, that we have put in positions of power, so that they know when they're doing shit, when they're voting in laws, when they're making decisions, when they're making changes, their constituents, the people they care about, the people who put them in office, who will also take them out of office real quick, they gotta support us. They gotta make sure they're doing shit for us, with us in mind. I said a lot. I hope I got to everything. Oh, well, before we go away, there are more dates for the primary election. I know you're probably guys like, well, why did I do the primary for? It's Biden against Trump. Like I said, there are certain seats that are still up for re-election, and you can choose who you want to be on that ballot, who you want to go against. Like, so Miss Yvette Clark is gonna be the opposing, like whoever goes into Yvette Clark from my District 9 for me. Like, that's important to know, like, who are these people who will be running against each other, making sure they have your best interests at heart. So on election day, you also can, when you go in and you vote for the right president, you're also voting for the right members of your seats in Congress. You're making sure that in all aspects your voice is being heard, local and federal. So on June 23rd, right? So Tuesday, June 23rd, is Kentucky and New York's official primary election. Kentucky, like New York, I believe should have early voting. So go look that up. For New York, it's nyc.earlypolls, early voting. And it will let you know where the location closest to you is to vote early, to help avoid some of those lines on election day. That's why I went out and voted today, because first of all, I got a whole little boot on my foot. Long story. But I made sure I went out and voted today, and I made sure my voice is heard, because I'm going to be on work on Tuesday. And I want to make sure that nothing stops me from making sure my voice is heard. Tuesday, July 7th is Delaware and New Jersey. Again, early voting. Make sure you're early voting. If you're not, please make sure on July 7th you go out and you vote at your primary elections. Saturday, June 11th, Louisiana. Sunday, July 12th is Puerto Rico's Democratic primary election. Puerto Rico, I know they treat you like the redheaded stepchild. They really do. They do you dirty. Please make sure you're putting people in positions of power who care for you, who support you, because you are a U.S. territory, and they be treating you like the redheaded stepchild, like they don't care about you. So making sure the people that you're bringing to office actually care and support y'all, and will make sure that your island is successful. The growth, the money is put into where it needs to be put into in your island, right? Because they can't keep treating y'all like that. It's not right. And then Tuesday, August 11th is Connecticut. Guys, these are all the dates for every primary election, right? Make sure you know who the candidates are that are running in your specific states for re-election. Are they meant to be re-elected? If not, look at the candidates that's running up against them and see if maybe one of them is better and you want to choose one of them. But it's important to know what's happening. So in 2020, here's some of the important dates that you should know. The first presidential debate is September 29th. The vice presidential debate is this October 7th. I almost said December. October 7th is the vice president debate. October 15th is the second presidential debate. And then October 22nd is the third and final presidential debate. And then November 3rd is election day. Guys, I know there's only 2 candidates. Actually, there's more than 2 candidates, because there's also independent candidates, like the independent party. And there's also independent parties. Usually they don't make enough noise to actually make a difference and make an impact. I would love to see if there was a candidate from the independent party that potentially could. I'm not opposed from voting independent or green, but they don't make no noise. They real silent on the sidelines. But it's important to know how they stand on these topics and what they feel. We know what Trump feels on a lot of these topics that we care about. And I say we because although we all don't care about the same things, and a lot of us can be conservative black people, and a lot of us, like myself, are real liberal black people, what I think on a basic front unites us is our desire for social justice, because of all the injustice that faces us as black people in this country, that have always faced us in this country. We want it to end. We want the abuse, the trauma to end. We want our voices to be heard. So making sure you're putting candidates in place that make sure your voices are heard, and they know that you're people, and that they cannot just keep playing with y'all in these streets like this, that we are putting people in positions that will hold them accountable in all fronts. And it's very important to know. Guys, I said a lot of words. This video is hella long. I think I've been recording for like almost an hour and a half now. Wow, I'm gonna have to cut this down like nobody's business. But thank you guys so much for coming by to the Black Girl Cheat Code. I hope I've inspired you. I hope that you've heard me. And I hope just to shut me up, you go out and vote. Even that's what it is, go out and vote. And when you go vote, hey, tweet me. Let me know that you voted in your primary elections, because I'm gonna make sure that y'all know that I vote. I always use my voice. Happy Juneteenth to all of you guys. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by to my next episode of the Black Girl Cheat Code. I hope, if nothing else, I've inspired you to go out and vote, to learn more about your candidates in your state, why it's important to vote in your state, and how they affect you. Please make sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this episode of the Black Girl Cheat Code. What else would you like me to give you a cheat code on? Now listen, your girl don't know everything. I be doing research for these videos, okay? I be trying to research my behind now so I know what I'm talking about and I don't look stupid. But even then, I can make mistakes. feel free to correct me down in the comments down below. Please make it nice. Constructive feedback. I work with constructive feedback, not rude feedback. But let me know in the comments down below. Give your opinion, give your education, help us out, right? The conversation doesn't end with me. Hell, sometimes it don't even start with me, but we're gonna keep it flowing, right? Let me be the catalyst for the conversation to keep moving. I'm down for it. Please make sure to comment down below. You like, share, you let your aunts, cousins, sisters, brothers, uncles know that it is important for our voices to be heard, and we need to go out and vote. Make sure to share this video, make sure to like, comment down below, and don't forget to stop by for another episode of Black Girl Cheat Code. We'll be back to you soon, guys. Bye.